because the title got me. The title piqued my interest. It piqued my interest. Are Wuthering Waves designs bland? Honest thoughts and opinions. Interested to see what they got to say, because personally, I don't think so. I think they're actually quite intriguing and interesting designs, if I'm honest. They might not be the most bright and popping designs, but I think that's just down to the way the visual and artistic style of Wuthering Waves is. But obviously that's a subjective thing. You might not necessarily see that artistic style as something that's not bland, I guess. So yeah, let's see what he's got to say.
Now, I want to make this video because I've seen many complaints on Wuthering Waves' character designs. Well, no,
I haven't, actually. I don't think I have really seen much complaint. The only sort of, then again, I don't necessarily delve deep into the community in that regard. With the two new characters that are coming out, I've seen a lot of people saying they look bland. I forgot the girl's name, but I don't think she looks bland at all. I think she looks fucking awesome, personally. I do think the guy looks pretty bland though, and it's not in his design, it's just in the colour palette. But like I said, I know this game's a little bit more subdued in that, but he is just pretty much like white with a little bit of blue. He does look very bland in that regard. I will agree with that. But I don't think the characters overall look bland. There's a couple of characters I guess kind of look a little bit more simple design, so I suppose you could argue they look a little bit bland. But when I look at characters like Jinsei, Yinlin, Jian, Calcharo, even characters like Xia, I guess Xia's quite generic, but I don't think she's bland. You know, Baiji, I guess maybe you could argue that Baiji's a little bit plain looking, but I wouldn't say bland because I think she looks hot. Obviously this is a total subjective take and these are just opinions and thoughts as the title says, but yeah, just bouncing off that, but yeah,
not exactly the designs, but the color palette of the designs, right?
Okay, that's definitely, in my opinion, that's a fair opinion to have. You know, it's a wrong opinion. No, I agree with that because I think the designs of the characters, obviously subjective opinion, I think they're amazing, but I can see some people maybe actually saying that, you know, thinking copium, thinking that actually is a thing in terms of design, I suppose, because the game is a little bit less comic book style than something like Star Rail or Genshin, so I think they're a little bit more muted. Is probably a good way to describe him, isn't he?
Hoyo shills, okay, that comes off as too toxic. Hoyo stands and
it's toxic, but he's not wrong.
Hoyo enjoyers love to say that Wuwa designs are mid and aren't any.
I don't think that's like a stan way to describe that opinion from Hoyo. I'm not saying there isn't Hoyo Andes and Genshin Andes, but I think that's just an artistic preference that Genshin does have that more of cutesy, cartoony look, and they are a lot more bright and colourful. So of course your preference is going to be for that, and Kuro, well, Wuthering Waves doesn't necessarily have that. You know,
anywhere near as, what should I say, like alive. And I don't think these people understand that we're in the middle of like an apocalyptic world. So like nobody has like these shining, super bright, saturated colors. But I wanted to bring this this topic up because I think I've realized exactly why they think this way. So I actually realized this literally the first day I played this game.
Well, I'd say, you know, might be a hot take here, but maybe it's a preference. There's probably a small part they've just got a stupid bias because of like their Andes. And that's going to be like, you know, a decent amount because of how massive Genshin is and massive Hoyo is. But I'd imagine it's probably, you know, hot take. It's just a preference, really. That's
I
probably
noticed
why.
it because people were complaining on Twitter. I'm like, what exactly is making people dislike Wua's character outfits design so much compared to Hoyo's? Because I really couldn't understand it. And I also thought there's something about these outfit designs that is a bit off. Not in a bad way, but in a way that I wasn't used to because I came from Hoyo's games. And I realized that after looking through character after character after...
You know, like, to me, when you go back to... Just flick back to Yinlin. To me, she looks great. She's colourful. Like, I don't think you can describe Yinlin as bland at all, in my opinion. Obviously, preference, you might look at her and go, fuck no, dude, that's totally bland. Of course, that's your opinion. But I just don't think she is. She's got like nice contrasting colours. Her hair's bright, her eyes are great. You know, the whole design, I think, is incredible, in my opinion. You know, like characters like Jian, maybe a little bit more muted, but still incredibly popping. The colour of his hair, the contrasting, the darks and the brights. But I think it's safe to say that most Hoyo characters are a little bit more colourful. But as again, I don't think that necessarily means bland. Again, that's a preference. But I think if you try and look at it maybe more from a less your own opinion standpoint, I think it's just a different artistic style, isn't it, really? Which, of course, art is preference altogether. You know, we all like different things visually. But I do think the characters are bright, are colourful, are like, you know, well designed. It's just a different artistic style altogether, which could be argued, I guess, is a little bit more on the I don't want to say the mature side of things, but you know, more on that darker, more maybe edgier kind of design, which I guess, you know, the word you're probably looking for there is maybe less colourful, so maybe bland. I don't know, you know?
Character after character after character. I looked at Verena and I was like, wait, this kind of reminds me of a Hoyo design. Why is that? Why does it?
Yeah, definitely. I think Verena is very much a Hoyo design. I still think if she was a Hoyo character, though, she'd have some element to her outfit there that would really, really pop. Because she is quite, you know, she's a tone of greens and she's all like kind of a tone of green. But she definitely is a more Hoyo type of design character for sure.
This reminds me of a Hoyo design. And it's a very simple answer. You'll notice that almost every character...
See, like, Danjin to me, as well, pops. Just look at Calcharo. Dude might be, I guess you could argue, bland in comparison to some of the male characters in the Hoyo games. But let's face it, well, at least in Genshin, he's not a twink, no. Look at him. Dude's a straight Giga Chad. Looks like Dollar Store Sephiroth. It's Sephiroth at home. I think he looks badass as fuck. And I don't think characters need to be colourful to not be bland. Obviously, subjective again. But, dude looks fucking sick, man, if you ask me.
Character in this game has a lot of...
Again, Morphe, I think he looks pretty cool. He looks like your typical anime 30-plus-year-old kind of character. You know, that's, again, not super popping in colour. But again, this is the artistic design of the game. The characters are a little bit more... I don't like to use the word mature, but I guess that's the only word I can really think of in that sense, that it's not a dark game, but it's darker, isn't it?
Black. Like a good significant portion.
You know, you can't tell me that Encore isn't like colourful and Hoyo-esque as well. And Yang Yang as well. To me, she's bright and colourful. I know it's blue against black, but it's a contrasting colour palette, isn't it? It pops, in my opinion.
Of their outfit is just straight up.
You know, beige, a little bit more, I guess maybe bland in terms of the colour palette, but she doesn't look bland to me.
Black. And I think this is what
I'll agree there. There is a lot of black used in the designs. That's a fair take, an objective take. There's a lot of black used in the designs. I can see that.
Throws people off so much.
And come on, bro. That ain't bland.
Is if you look at Genshin
that ain't bland.
Designs, they have way less black, right? And when they do have black, they're usually like saturated blacks. Like you can...
Well, let's face it, man. Genshin is designed for 15-year-old mentally ill girls, isn't it? You know? So, yeah.
You can tell it's a different color still. So it still comes off as very saturated and bright, and you can tell the color. But in this game, the colors are a lot less
joking, by the way, Genshin fans, joking.
Saturated. And there's a lot more black in the outfit design. And I realized, like, oh, so this is likely why people are complaining, right? I'm not completely sure. Maybe some other people have more nitpicky things about the design. But I
think this is something that'll change as well. I think some of this might be down to the fact of the country that we're in as well at the moment. We haven't had the time as well within Wuthering Waves to go to the different places in the world. So I think we're going to have different areas in Wuthering Waves that are going to be a little bit more bright, you know, different cultures. They're going to wear different clothes. And I think the characters that we're going to pull for in banners are going to represent that a little bit more as well. I do agree what he says, like, you know, there is a lot more blacks in the game at the moment and probably less contrast in terms of that. Or should I say less colours in the palette, because there is definitely contrast, because black contrasts pretty much with every colour, doesn't it, unless it's another dark colour. But yeah, maybe it's just down to the fact of we've only had Jin Zhao really as the area as well yet. Like, we're going to probably get a lot more variety as we branch out into other nations within the world.
I genuinely think the general reason why people don't favor Wuwa's designs coming from Hoyo games is that they are less colorful, right? They're less colorful, they're less bright.
That's fair, but at the same time though, do we want them all to look like Hoyo games? I don't think we do. Like, you know, there's an argument to be made, I'd like a bit of colour, and I think there are some characters that have it, and we'll, as I said, again, we'll probably get more variety in that and less blacks and more popping colour palettes and stuff. But I think it's fair as well that they're trying to take a slightly different direction, which is totally fine. We don't want the game to just look like Genshin, but with better combat. I know there's arguments that the game kind of looks like Genshin, but from an artistic standpoint, it really doesn't.
They're less, well, I already said less colorful. It's the same as less saturated. And they have a lot more black implemented into them, right? It's just something I noticed, and I think it's such a stupid complaint though, because like, you need to understand that these are different worlds, right? Like,
I wouldn't say necessarily it's a stupid complaint, because I think at the end of the day, it's a preference. You know, people can have a preference and be like, I don't like more darker themes, and I want there to be more colour in there. I think that's totally a fair. It depends on how you make the complaint and whether you start just bitching around forums and stuff. That's different. But I think to say like, look, I want more colour in my game, I think that's fair. But I think if everything has colour, this is what I was talking about before regarding sexy characters coming out and 5 stars. At the end of the day, if they're all sexy 5-star characters, then are the sexy 5-star characters that special anymore? Where if we get like some 4 stars in between and we get some characters that are a little bit more, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but you know, less sex appeal to them, it's going to make the next banner that comes out where we've got this super sexy character that's maybe a bit more brighter, they're going to look a little bit more special, aren't they? It's finding that balance, so where I think that's where they need to get more 4-star characters coming out in the game that go into other banners potentially, or just some 4-star banners that, you know, they're going to make a little bit less money on, but makes the next banner look a lot better.
Hoyo is like this amazing fantasy world where you go on adventures and get your superpowers, and while Wua's story is similar, the actual like world surrounding
I like his little voice he put on there for describing Genshin. Did Genshin hurt you, dude?
it isn't, right? Like, from what we know, the rover has been here before, and he like lost his memories from who knows what, right? But he's like this really...
I think I'm going to guess his memories was taken for some specific reason that we're going to find out later on. But there's no denying that the story within Wuthering Waves is tropey, as, you know, as it is in Genshin. You know, we're kind of we're less of the chosen one in that regards because we've already been there, but we kind of are the chosen one and that sort of stuff. There's no denying it's a trope. And I don't have an issue with tropes. I like tropes. I love fantasy. I love sci-fi. And I love myself a good trope, I do. That's one thing I do quite like about Zenless. It feels a little bit less tropey in that sense of that your 2 characters that you play as are not necessarily anything special. They just happen to come across an AI that's made them better at what they do in terms of the criminal underworld within that universe, which I quite like about that. But yeah, I don't think Wuthering Waves has a special, unique way of storytelling that brings it to the forefront better than what Genshin does. In fact, I'd probably say so far, at least for the middle of 1.0, the story wasn't brilliant. But it's got nothing special to it or unique.
Really strong dude, but it seems like an apocalypse happened in this game.
It was a lament, wasn't he?
And so these outer regions, which is what we're in right now, I believe the main city is called like Huanglong right now. This is only like one city outside of the main actual like meat and potatoes of the story, like the main region. And this city has just been ravaged by the apocalypse, right? So there's only like a little bit left, right? Like these are the outskirts. There's only a few people, like a few groups of people. The city isn't that huge or bustling with life, right? And I think the characters actually greatly reflect that. And
That's a fair point. You know, the characters do reflect the world that they're in, and at the end of the day, if you're going to create a consistently artistic design within a world, from an artistic point of view, that makes sense. But from a gaming point of view as well, you shouldn't get too tied to consistency regarding, let's say, canon of the world when you're creating a gacha game. Because in my opinion, you're going to lose a little bit there. I think that shouldn't get too tied to that design aesthetic, because overall it will then make the roster look blander. You can make, like I said, we can make things look really good and colourful and still be tied to a reflection of the world, but just not get too tied to it.
at first, I will admit it, when I first started Wua, I thought the designs were worse because I simply wasn't used to it, right? I was so used to Hoyo games and the extremely saturated
I didn't get that at all. I didn't.
and colored palettes that I was like, you know, they're good, but I wouldn't put them over Hoyos. But with the recent releases of Changli and Jinshi, my mind's completely changed, right? Now, sure, I guess my mind didn't completely change because I still think
Dude saw them titties on Changli and was just like, whoa, whoa, I'm sold.
some of the outfit designs aren't as cool as Hoyo's, right? But I still think for Changli and Jinshi in specific, there's not a single person's design in Genshin that I'd take over Jinshi or Changli.
Maybe over Jinsei, but I really like Jinsei. I like the way, I love the way she looks. In fact, I do. But I just really like Jinsei as a character. Like I like her a lot. I think she's a really good addition to the roster in her attitude, the way she's this dignified ruler that's willing to sacrifice herself for a people. And I know that's nothing unique. It's been done a million times over in fantasy and sci-fi and whatever. But I just think she's a really cool character. Now, Changli, I think personally, is one of the best looking waifus in any gacha game that we've ever had. And I know people all have subjective different opinions on that, of course, and be like, you know, oh, look at this character that's ultra sexy. But I just think she's like the evolution in the design, because just her face, just everything about her, man. I just think she's fucking, obviously this is preference and a subjective opinion, right? I think she's like almost like the new version, the 2.0 waifu, and she looks fire.
I think the only one is Sino, and it's because I'm a lot of you don't know this, right? When I was a kid, the main mythology that I used to delve into and like read books about was Egyptian mythology. And
Okay, I like it. I respect that. You gotta love a bit of Egyptian canon. I am an Egyptian enjoyer myself.
Sino has like this Anubis outfit design that I just find badass, right? I've always found the Egyptian mythological gods really, really badass. Same with
Dude, they are, aren't they? Like, it sucks that we don't like have that sort of belief in the pantheons anymore. You know, like the Egyptian pantheons and the Roman and the Greek. Like, that shit was, man, no, that's when gods were badass, weren't they? You know, like legit badass.
the Greek ones. And it's like, so I just don't care that much about Genshin designs anymore, other than Sino. As for Honkai Star Rail, I think I can't say the same for Honkai Star Rail, right? Because I think especially when it comes to men, Aventurine clears anyone in this game, like easy.
I don't agree with that personally. I think Cal Charo, in my opinion, obviously this is opinion, he's not wrong. My opinion, Cal Charo and Jian, two of the best looking male characters in pretty much any gacha game. There's ones I haven't played, so I can't comment on, but I think they just look fucking epic. They are like true RPG anime, like Giga Chad characters that look badass, especially Cal Charo. Cal Charo is just, I think he's such a cool design. Obviously, dude looks like Sephiroth, so you're going to get points there. And for me, pretty much every character in Genshin, not in Star Rail, because the male characters are a lot better in that. All the male characters in Genshin just look like twinks, man. You know, they just look like teenage, early 20-year-old, like effeminate dudes, which I don't care about that, but they don't look badass. Where like the dudes in this game look like actual like badass dudes, and they're doing Star Rail as well. I think the male characters in this game are really good actually, specifically Calcharo and Gian. Morphe's a cool looking character as well, and Alto's cool looking also. But yeah, I think Gian and Calcharo are cool looking characters.
Easily for me, right? Jing Yuan as well. I think HSR has some of the best designs ever in gacha.
I agree with that. Star Rail characters, but Star Rail has just got like its artistic design is just top tier. Like every time I jump into Star Rail, even though its fidelity is not like, you know, we talked about this before, there's games that are like top tier graphics, your Spider-Mans, your God of Wars, but in terms of artistic design, like Star Rail, every time I jump into it, I'm just like, dude, this game is gorgeous. And I'll get that same thing with Wuthering Waves as well. Genshin's a beautiful game also. But yeah, Star Rail just has an incredible art design team working on it.
It's ruined by the fucking power creep in that game.
Yeah,
but anyways,
I think it's harder to get away from the power creep in Star Rail just because it's a turn-based game. That there's you really don't have much control in other than doing things in the right order and putting your teams together. Power creep is a massive thing in Star Rail, and it's kind of one of the big things that makes me play it less, because I feel like FOMO is a real thing in that game, and if there's a real world of haves and have-nots, and I know that's going to be a thing in this. It's a gacha game at the end of the day, but I definitely feel like, obviously, mechanical skill is a major part of this game. And I just hope that Kuro was smart with the power creep. There's going to be power creep, but if they do it right, you know, a rising tide lifts all ships kind of thing. I've spoke about this before. If they do it right, it won't be a major problem. Let's hope it's not. It probably will, but let's hope it's not.
I would say Aventurine and Jing Yuan for the men. And then for the woman, I'd say Acheron. Yeah, Acheron's the only one.
Yeah, she's a cool looking
in
character.
Genshin, there's one character I like better than Wuthering Waves, and in Honkai Star Rail, there's 3. And, you know, that's not a good sign for them, because you need to understand, HSR is going into 2.4 now, and Genshin is...
I wouldn't necessarily say that's not a good sign for them. I think that's totally, obviously, it's his preference, it's subjective. There's a lot of people that would absolutely say that majority of the characters in those 2 games look better than the characters within this game. One, they've got a larger roster, so there's probably going to be more characters that are going to appeal to more people. And there's that fan bias that's been there a while. I do think we're going to have amazing looking characters in this game. We've already got them, but I don't think you can say that, oh, it's bad for them because you think characters look better, because that's just your point of view, isn't it, really?
It's in like 4 point something. Wuwa is still in 1.1, right? Like the only limited 5-star dude we've had so far.
Then we got a fellow Wuthering Waves Andy here. Respect my guy.
Was Gian. And Zhang Liao is going to be free. So, I know a lot of people call Zhang Liao a 4-star. I still don't believe that. I
think he's probably going to be a weaker 5-star. If they're giving away free and he was specifically designed to be a free character, I think that's why he looks quite bland, because there's no desire to want to push for him. So that probably makes sense of the way he's designed, because you're getting him for free. They're not going to give away a Chang-Li for free at the end of the day, are they? It's, you know, it ain't going to happen. Or a Jinsei, you know, because that's why he's been given away for free. So it might represent in the way he performs as well. But there's nothing wrong with that. The game needs more 4-stars. I'm totally fine with it. And I'd rather them just be 4 stars in name if they're going to perform like a 4-star. Not saying he's going to, but, you know, if that was the case.
If his outfit design is the best in terms of portraying his abilities and, like, his personality as a whole. But
I don't necessarily know if that's true. I don't know how his personality is going to be portrayed, or even his abilities. His arm works with his abilities, but I think he still could look a little bit better personally. I don't think he's the best design, honestly. And obviously this is all personal preference and subjective opinions, but I genuinely don't think out of the characters, he's kind of a weak design, if you ask me.
But I have confidence in Kuro that the further down we get in the game, the more and more sick the designs are going to be for the dudes.
I agree with that as well. I agree with
the
that.
girls, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at PGR, please look at PGR designs, right?
Yeah.
You don't
I was going to say, after Graham Fields come in my chat a bunch of times, like, check this character, check that character. PGR have some insane looking characters. They really do.
even have to play the game. Just look at the designs for some of the villains and the characters. Like, it's fucking crazy, man. If they even implemented like a fraction of that level into WoWa, I know it would go crazy, man.
And I think we will as well. Again, once we start getting to the different nations and the different themes and cultures, I think we're going to see that. What you got to take at the moment, we're getting majority of these characters, apart from, I think, Calcharo at the minute, and some of the other characters, they're all based within this part of the story of Wuthering Waves. So they're all going to, again, and we're talking about the post-apocalyptic thing earlier, they're going to kind of reflect where they are set and where they're coming into the game. Of course, if you go to other areas that are going to be brighter and going to have different aesthetics, the characters are probably going to reflect those as well. So they are going to have a variation to them.
Man, like Alpha, oh my god. I hope they add her for the anniversary of this game, because it'd just be so fucking badass, right?
This dude's cooming.
So, yeah, I mean, just a quick video on my opinion on why people think the designs of WoWa are bland, when I think there's a charm to it. I don't think they're bland. They're just not as colorful and as bro, why is my game lagging? As colorful or as saturated as Hoyo's, right? I make this argument often, but people need to understand, just because you've had this one experience with one thing doesn't mean the other thing is it's to the extreme, right? I mentioned this with Jinchi and WoWa, where while it is different, the concept is the same, right? Where Gion has the easiest kit in the entire game. Agreed. And so people were like, well, yeah, Jinchi's the strongest DPS, but Gion is the easiest DPS. And it's like, just because Gion is the easiest doesn't mean that Jinchi is difficult, right?
Agreed. Exactly what I said. I hated saying the word, saying that she's complex, because she's not, but in comparison, she's more complex. And that's a perfect analogy in the sense that Wuthering Waves isn't bland, but if you compare it to maybe Genshin, you'd probably look at it and go, well, the only word I can use to describe it is it's more bland than this one, because it's less of that. That doesn't mean it's bland. It just means in comparison, look at heats, this thing might be red hot and this thing's only fucking gonna burn you. They're both fucking hot, Terrible analogy, but kind of makes sense.
And then for this, I mean to say, to translate it, right? Just because Genshin's designs are the most colorful and bright doesn't mean that WoWas are bad, right? Or that they're desaturated or bland. Like, that's not how it works, right? I think we just weren't used to it, because Hoyo had like this monopoly on gacha games for so long, and so we were so used to all of their designs and the way they did designs. So
I think as well, like, obviously a lot of it's just preferences from people's opinions and such, but I think some people who are maybe, let's say, Andes, it's one part of Wuthering Waves that you can genuinely make a coherent argument, and that you could actually look at and go, well, that's not crazy, because you can see the difference visually right away. So I think there is a factor that there as well. But I think it's totally a fair argument to make for people to make. It's at the end of the day, it's just a personal preference, isn't it? It's going back to that video we're talking about with Wuthering Waves and Zenless on Zero, and that dude said why he quit Wuthering for Zenless. They were all just personal preferences, really. There was nothing that was reflected the game's design, if I'm honest.
When we were met with a different standard for design, we were a bit taken aback, I'd like to say. But overall, I think after playing WoWa longer, I definitely do prefer WoWa's designs a lot more. I also think because of the fact that it's on Unreal Engine 4 and this game has significantly better graphics and character models, everything pops more and looks significantly more beautiful, especially when you're in the light. Like,
the game definitely has more graphical fidelity and better lighting effects for sure. But once again, I've said this multiple times, fidelity and graphical prowess age a lot faster than good art styles do. And I'm not saying this game doesn't have a good art style, it does. But that's why there's certain games from 20 years ago that look amazing today, because art style was the main priority over graphics. You know, the God of Wars and the Spider-Man 2s in 10 years' time, you'll look back and be like, man, that's aged a little bit now. Because obviously it's only going to be as good as the current technology. And as we advance on technology, you know, it's like when films came out in the early 2000s with a lot of CGI, they looked amazing. Like, holy cow, bro, this is insane. You look back at them now, it looks quite dated. But art style's everlasting. A good art style's everlasting.
This, right? Like, I think, like, just look how beautiful this game is, man. Look at the outfit design, the character animations. I find it so much more. Oh,
Jinxie's gorgeous as well. Like, she's like, I love the whole design of Jinxie. Like, she's almost like this ethereal, like, angelic look to her, and I think that's a really good character design because it kind of represents the way she is as a character as well, and her personality also.
I find it so much more satisfying and just beautiful in general than games like Genshin or Honkai Star Rail, right? And that's not technically Genshin or Honkai Star Rail's fault, right? But I still hold
that's just your personal preference, dude.
The ZZZ characters. In fact, I think the ZZZ characters have some of the least detailed and interesting characters slash models.
I think potentially it could have a good point there, personally from me. But I think it's because of the small roster at the moment. But I absolutely love the art style of Zenless Zone Zero, and I think when we get more characters that have amazing designs, they're gonna look amazing in that game because I absolutely love the visual aesthetic and art style of Zenless Zone Zero.
Of any of Hoyo's games, like, I hate to say it, but for me that's the truth, right? For others it may be different, but I just found the
Dude, it's 2024, man. Did you know you're not allowed to have a preference and a freaking opinion? Come on, bro.
ZZ characters bland for some reason. I really don't know why. I just did, right? Yes, I know it's 1.0, but guess what? Wu was also on 1.1 and 1.0, so, you know, it's the same shit, really, right? So it's actually pretty nice to compare them. And yes, I'm aware both of them are an open world, but I'm talking about in combat, right? Like, just in general, when you're...
You can compare the art style. Yeah, you can definitely compare the art style and the way they look. That's fair. I see a lot of people comparing Zenless to Wuthering Waves in all the other regards, though, which for me is kind of it's almost in bad faith because obviously they've come out close together, so people are going to compare them. But the games that you should compare Zenless Zone Zero to, in my opinion, are like Punishing Grey Raven, Solo Leveling Arise, and like Snowbreak Containment Zone, because I feel like that they're a lot more like Zenless, really, where you've got hubs, you go off into instant combat, similar sort of action style combat. They're kind of set up the same way, and that's the best comparisons to make for that game, in my opinion. But yeah, you can definitely compare the visual style. The game doesn't have to be even in the same genre.
You're actually able to see your characters. I just didn't like ZZZ that much, right? Probably because I was so stressed out about the fucking TVs, but, you know...
Dude, the TV system got so many people twisted, didn't he? I understand he, but it just didn't get me like that.
Yeah, that's a thing in itself, right? There's nothing I can really do about that, right? So yeah, quick video on my thoughts on why people blindly hate Wuwa's outfit design. Why I used to actually think the same as them when I first started the game, and why it simply isn't true. And it honestly, I truly believe that.
I wouldn't say it isn't true. You know, because again, we're talking about a totally subjective perspective and a preference of a visual art style that's being conveyed to you. That's the thing with art, isn't it? Art can be absolute crap to somebody, you know, a piece of art, and then to somebody else it's thought-provoking, it means something, visually it's appealing, all of the above. It's interesting to see that he felt the same way when the game came out, but he's changed his mind now. So, you know, he should be able to see why other people felt the same. So, yeah, and I think it's total fair take for people to have as well. Totally fair take.
It's just because of Hoyo bias, and we were old.
I definitely think there probably is some of that as well, because I have seen a lot of comments that do show a massive Hoyo bias. But at the same time, though, I think it's fair. It's definitely fair.
Too used to Hoyo's designs. Hope you all have a good day. Hope you all have a great night. Peace.
All right, bro.
I think two people I know, both.
Okay. Straight onto a Sticks video there. Yeah, good video that was. Good video from Gambi Maru, small channel. And again, I've seen a lot of people talking about it. For me personally, I think the designs are great. But I can see where people are coming from in regards to the aesthetic and their preference. At the end of the day, it's all based on preference, and just enjoy what you enjoy. And don't try and talk yourself into, don't try and get you, because you can like Wuthering Waves more than you like Genshin, but you can just like the way Genshin looks more. There's plenty of games that I play where I'm like, dude, this game, I prefer this game, but I kind of wish it looked like this game. That's just how it is, and you shouldn't try and talk yourself into, well, no, I like Wuthering Waves, and I've kind of got to tell myself that this looks better, so it justifies me pulling for a banner or something, or putting my time and effort into it. How a game looks is only a small part of what makes a game great. And at the end of the day, it's all about gameplay. If it looks good as well while you're enjoying it, that's a good thing, isn't it? But yeah, I think it's something not to get too wrapped up on, but it's a good video and a good talking point, actually. Wuthering Waves designs bland from Gambi Maru. Do you know what? Let's go drop him a sub, and we'll check out some of his other content in the future. Good video.